podcast for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications. If you'd like to stay up to date with our project, please click subscribe. And if you enjoy the content or have any questions, please feel free to comment and share. Now, on to our meeting.
All right, everybody, welcome to the November 20th meeting of the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs and Gen AI group. Big momentous week for us this week, which is the culmination of a couple big months for the team. So much stuff coming out. I've gotten so many comments in the last 24 hours from people asking, how are you guys putting out all this stuff? Where did this all come from? And I think everybody here knows the answer is we've been working on all this stuff for like a year. It just happened to come out all at the same time. But sometimes that's the way these things work. So let's go ahead and dive in. So, hey, we shipped the new list and the reception seems to be really good. Got, I don't know, 10,000 plus views on just my posting alone. And that climbing rapidly. And I've seen the first bits of press coverage and things like that. But the other thing we did was launch the sponsorship program, which is amazing to see. So, I think I grabbed a couple more of Scott's slides, but, just to review here, and most of us have been involved in this, but I'm really pleased with the way that the list turned out. Kept a lot of the strengths of the first list, the basic framework for what LLM security means that the first list defined. We basically just improved on a lot of those entries. There were a few things that I'd say wound up being fringe, things like plugins, which were just a bit of a flash in the pan, at least the way that we looked at them at the time. There were other things that were kind of nascent that we didn't look at much that have become so much more important, like RAG. And I think it's a great expansion of what we've done. I feel like this version of the list is better in every way, as well as just being more current. And that's a lot of hard work by folks on the team and a lot of compromises. And that's been amazing. So thank you, everybody, for contributing there. Scott, I'll let you talk about the sponsorship program and how that's come together and kind of where we are with that.
Yeah, so it's been great to see everybody kind of coming together over the last, few months. We started this, I think we started probably about 2-3 months ago, just as kind of outlining it and starting to get initial interest. And it's been great. So we now have gold sponsors. So if you're not familiar with how it's structured, we try to keep it really simple. Just gold and silver sponsors, the funding, and I'll get to that in a second. I've got a later slide on it, kind of where we sit in terms of our targets. So we did set some targets, so make sure we cover our bases, but the response has been fantastic. And it's been great to see all of our sponsors come in. So we have 11 sponsors in our initial tranche. There are some other sponsors who are still working to try to find budget and funding, and they'll come join us a little bit later. But it's great to have these initial inaugural sponsors as part of it.
All right. So hey, before we move on, any other comments from anybody on the team in terms of the announcements from this week, the list, anything anyone wants to add, or comments about the sponsorship program?
No, it's great.
Hey. Let me quickly add, we will have stats on this. I was looking to get some stats on the announcements for this morning's call. Unfortunately, the team we have a great PR team who's been working with us, Force 4, and that's been helping us kind of get the amplification out, and they're pulling together numbers for us. So next time around, next meeting, I'll have a full recap of all of the numbers from both the October and also this announcement that we'll go through.
Awesome. All right, let's see what folks have added. So, is this you, Scott?
Continuing the theme, yes.
Okay.
Continuing on a theme, right? So the other thing we've added is part of their support is all of the quotes that we've gotten from our sponsors as part of this announcement. We have a new section on the website that just kind of collates all of the sponsorship and support we're getting across the industry from the quotes, both obviously from our sponsors. We also have other companies. We'll be expanding this with the PR team to the analysts we've been speaking with over the last couple of months, PR that's come up as well. So this is a great place to have and see kind of everybody who's kind of supporting the community. But we really appreciate our quotes from our sponsors that are really key, and it's really resonating a lot with others in the industry. So that's awesome. So I wanted to share this with you guys. So if you haven't checked it out, go take a look. It's under the About tab, industry recognition, if you're looking to navigate in the menu. Otherwise, you can go to the link that's here. So as I mentioned, I talk about our sponsorship goals. So when we started the sponsorship program, we were targeting for 200K as our inbound for 2024. 10% of everything that we earn as a project. So we are operating a budget independent of the foundation, but we also do give 10% back to the general fund as part of our agreement with the foundation. So we're doing pretty well. We're at 175K. We still have a couple of months left to kind of hit to our 200 goal, but it's going to give us a lot of capability to kind of move forward in the next year to do a lot more around outreach and a lot more around helping people see and understand all the great stuff that the project has worked on, as well as continue to fund research. Like I know we're funding, providing funding for some of the initiatives like Rachel and the CTI group is working on. So it gives us more opportunities to do that. And also allows our sponsors to kind of recognize or be recognized as real, thought leaders, industry leaders in the area. So it's a good synergy between the two.
I have two quick questions, Scott. One
Yes.
is, this is yearly, right? So our budget is approximately 175K per year, right? The sponsorship is yearly renewable.
Yes, it's an annual renewal.
Yeah.
And we do have a P&L which I can share with the team as well. And I can walk through kind of what that looks like. I'm hopeful right now, a lot of our funding is coming in the end of the year, this year. I'm hoping we continue to get funding in the beginning of next year so that we don't have too much lumpiness in our inbound revenue. So when we start looking at renewals for the next year, we have a little bit more stability around that. So
how does the funding work? We have an account in the bank and we put it in some interest-bearing account and all kind of stuff like that, probably. Right?
Goes in Scott's dresser drawer.
It goes in my dresser drawer, exactly.
under the mattress.
Yeah, so the process we've worked out has been, I think, a new process that OWASP is starting to roll out to other projects that are interested in taking the approach we have. So we have working with the board and working with the OWASP Foundation, we came up to an agreement on how we would work on such a project where we would have independent funding and then who would kind of manage the different pieces of it. So this is all lands in the OWASP budget. It is all OWASP money. We have a segment of that budget that is allocated to us based on our inbound that we bring in. So we benefit from all of the back-end services that they already have in place. So we didn't have to put those in place. And but it gives us the ability to both work independently and reflect the interest of the community in making sure the project is successful and the things that the project does are invested in. As well as providing, some funding back to the general fund. I think I did a rough, back at the napkin estimate. I think the percentage that we give back to the foundation roughly is equivalent to around 600 or 700 new members. So a lot of the foundation builds off of your membership that people sign up for. They get the benefit of that. So we're roughly about 600 members contributed today, based upon the funding that's been raised.
Yeah, good. I have one more quick one. It's more of a request, right? We need the editorial resources for the red teaming document.
Yes, and so I know you asked for a technical resource, and that's again what these technical writer and again what these resources are for. And I did reach out to several technical writers that I've worked with in the past, and working to find who is available and who has capacity to kind of support us. So hopefully I'll get those answers within the next week.
Yeah. Because thank you, appreciate it. Good work. Very
And
well.
I can review with folks, I think on the next call, kind of what the whole request process is, what the policies are for each of these, because we've worked in detail with, or I worked in detail with the OWASP team to come up with a set of policies and processes that are in line with their policies as well as in line with the interest of our project. So there are some guidelines in how we are spending, and I'd be happy to spend some time on the next call and share what those are.
Yeah. We can, agree. There should be some. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions on funding? So the other piece that I know I've shared with all of you has been to get all of the work that we're all doing in a single roadmap. This is also important because it allows us to not only communicate this out to the rest of the world so they can see what the project is working on, it also helps us do planning as we start to look at what do we want to do next as it relates to go-to-market awareness. Or what I get most often now is a request for how can I contribute? I can't tell you the number of just the sponsors who have come on board. They're asking, how can I contribute more to more of these projects? Where do I sign up? How can I throw more resources at the project? Which is awesome for us. So part of this is giving a guidance for where people can get engaged and what things are being worked on. And then part of this is all for us to be able to do planning. Now, I've taken input from people. I think I've got most of the changes here. I didn't have a chance to do a sanity check this morning because I did see some comments come in. So, but this at least gives us a project-wide view, and I intend on publishing this on the website so that people will be able to see what the project roadmap is and see where they can contribute to make that a little bit easier process. Any comments on roadmap questions?
I have a couple of slight updates for the teaming one. I'll send it.
I think I did see some. You sent me some notes, I think.
Yeah. Then now we changed a little more. Yeah, those things are there, but we changed a little bit more. So I'll send you the notes. Okay,
that's great. And I know I know we set up the meeting just real quickly on we had the meeting on the testing guide. We got the folks together on that. Does that have how is that working? Is that working? Do we have a plan on that?
Nothing has happened yet, so we need to. We had the meeting, but we haven't. So let me do one thing. Let me write a note here.
Yeah, and let me know if I'm happy to kind of help stir the.
We need to get that. Okay. We need your help to bootstrap it, but we will, because now that our reteaming document is somewhat in a good shape, etc., that might be the right time to bootstrap the testing guide. Yeah,
I think several of the folks who were part of that call might be willing to kind of take a lead on it. Some of the contributors between what CSA,
we were waiting for CSA to get back on the whether they can share the document.
Okay, I will follow up with them.
I think that's one thing that was one thing that was sitting there. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. I know they have to get clearance because they're a government agency. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
So we were also, as I started to look at things, we started to capturing some of the stats. So I just wanted to share these with you. I'll include these in more of a whole business review we can do. We can schedule for a later call. But just to give you some indications, we continue to see very strong growth as Steve was mentioning in our followers. You can see from the straight line there that we just have a very aggressive kind of growth schedule over the last few months. Our average is about 40%, which is actually pretty good. 37, so I'm rounding up, yes. What you see down below is you'll see from 2023, we have data starting in Q3 through to our Q4. So we noticed that in Q1, we saw a big spike, and that big spike was really attributed to the RSA event that we held. So the AI Summit, Security Summit, drove a lot of that increase, why we have the spike there. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get more coming out of this announcement. I have not yet had the ability to pull the latest data, so this data is at the 7th. So I expect that number is higher. So this gives us the ability to compare time over time. We've also been looking at what our engagements are, which is how much people are engaging with this. And our impressions are are okay. Our reposts are a little low, so we probably need to think about, and we'll work on this when we go into 2025 planning on what we can do to get more engagement around that community. It's growing. We just want to get people more actively engaged is a takeaway. I also thought I'd share a little of the demographics. So we do have a pretty good mix in terms of both company size and our seniority in the organization. It would always be great to expand more in terms of the CXO audience and senior audiences. Excuse me, that's the executive audiences. But I think we've got, based on the guidance that we give and the content that we're developing, I think we've got a good mix. And we'll continue to track this and compare this across our different channels. So as I mentioned, we're going to start a planning process. I want to get to a 2025 outreach plan within the next 4 or 5 weeks, so that when we go into 2025, we've got a clear idea of what type of activities we're going to be doing. We'll be inviting sponsors into this process as well. The goal being that we have an idea of what are the events and activities we want to do. We have the roadmap, so we'll have some of the announcement ideas. And when those are going to come, we want to leverage everybody's channels to be more, to better amplify what we're doing. And I think our sponsors are going to help us do that. We also have our ability to do our own webinars now. So on top of our infrastructure that we have, we've added StreamYard to help support both a chat as well as a live stream, as well as giving us the ability to host our own webinar. So we'll be able to do outreach, and we'll be able to do that with partners and with our sponsors and with others to be able to start putting out our own content. So we have a little bit of our own control, as well as wanting to coordinate with everybody else in the community and what everybody else is doing, where we have sessions that are submitted. We want to see all of that consolidated as much as we can in one place so we can amplify it as much as we can. So we'll start that meeting. I'm going to start it this Monday. It's going to be a recurring meeting until we get to a resolve plan. And then we will go to more of an operating model at that point. So probably every couple of weeks or so, once we have the plan in place. So it's open to anybody to contribute. I'll be sending out the link again to the different groups, both in the outreach group, PR group, newsletter. I'll send it out to all of our sponsors as well, so that everybody can contribute and then be part of that process. Another update on solutions. So the solutions landscape is continuing to get more traction. We're now up to around 75 new solutions that are in there to the top 10. Again, this is based off the previous top 10. We're going to do some tweaks probably by the end of the year to make this address all the top 10, the 2024, 2025, to delineate that appropriately. We need to do some back-end work. And we're onboarding a web team who's going to be taking over, kind of operationalizing the web, which is going to help us, polish it up a little bit more and also make sure we've got an easy way to do updates. So it's great to see the updates coming in. So if you have more, keep submitting. And I think we will put out an advisory around the landscape at the end of the year that talks about the growth. I'll put out a blog about that talks about the growth, talks about the new solution areas that we're seeing, et cetera. So that will come in near the end of the year.
I think this is Krishna.
Yeah,
yes.
Just a quick one. The newsletter, we do, not as impressive as Scott's growth, but still we are growing. So one thing probably we will do, I think I'll work with Scott to see how we can position the newsletter for more larger engagement. Right? So that is one thing that we do. Second,
yeah, I definitely want to, as we put the plan together, that'll be a perfect opportunity for us to do that.
Yeah.
Then as we spoke, we're taking a look at our MarTech stack to make sure we have an integrated approach. Right now we have a lot of separate pieces, which is fine. But as we go forward, we might want to connect things a little bit more.
Yeah, they need to leverage each other, right? Somebody goes in and looks at the newsletter and they can click on something and they can go somewhere else and come back, etc., right? Absolutely.
Yep.
They have to. So that way we get the cross and the upselling type of thing. Just on that note, also I will participate on the on the Monday's call, because one of the things that probably we should also do is we should have a webinar scheduled set up, right?
Yes.
That way we can. So maybe, and also test webinar. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 webinars on just the new 2025. That will give us a test of the system and how it works and that kind of stuff, as well as give something. But probably we start on January might be. I don't think anybody will join an OWASP webinar on December.
You'd be surprised.
Is
Mhm.
it?
You'd be surprised.
Oh,
So I think that I would like, one of the things we'll talk about Monday is I do want to see about putting something out in our first webinar in December.
Yes.
So
yes. Oh, okay. If we do that one, we should do a webinar on, I'd be happy to help, of course, webinar on just the top 10 list. Right? These are the new things coming in, and our experience, as well as questions for people. Look at it and say, why did you do this? Or what are the things, etc., etc. Right? Because we have easily a fertile 1 or 2 webinars on the 2025, where we can easily do that one.
yeah, and I believe Aubrey, and I'm going to speak for him right now, and he can correct me, but I believe it's for Aubrey's podcast that he is working on putting together, that he has the intent to do interviews and create videos to share as part of that podcast on each of those different areas. So we're going to have some great opportunities to get the message out, both through our coordination with partners and other organizations, as well as the ability to leverage our own webinars and podcasts to communicate. So yeah, that's absolutely.
Yep. That's right. I'm actually I'm hoping to record the first episode hopefully a week from today. Crossing fingers.
Excellent. Anyway, going back to the newsletter, the November newsletter is out. Nothing fancy. Always wanted to focus on this one, right? So we have focus on all of them. Please do a quick sanity check, right? At least take a look at what is in there. The draft link is there. And then I plan to publish on Friday. I think that's this thing. And if there is any update, any quick updates, we can do that one. Scott, probably not this time. We can do it this time as well. If you have a sponsor bar, I can put it as an image at the end of the newsletter, right? As an image. I know you have a couple of images on that one, right? If you want to add that one, we can.
Yeah, I would definitely like to add that we have just a very simple kind of image that captures the one that you saw on the slide. So that graphic there with the logos, just snap that in. I have that as just a PNG.
So send me the PNG and I will snap that one at the bottom, right? At least I wanted to do that last time itself. And like we were saying earlier, these things should feed each other, right? So that way there is value, not only for the sponsors, but also value for us.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
So I'll put that bar in, and please take a look at the draft link, and corrections, suggestions are welcome.
That's it for the slides. Anybody else have items that they'd like to raise to the team today? Suraksha has...
Oh, sorry. This is me. This is Arunish. I'm sorry. I'm using the name. I'll just... Krishna, I just had one comment on rolling out the newsletter. Fridays, usually the message gets lost based on my experience with doing a go-to-market. I think doing it on Wednesday or maybe Thursday is ideal, so that people have a full Friday to absorb and read through that one.
Yep.
So if we could explore doing it on Thursday.
I usually do it on Tuesdays. That's where I was doing it. But this time, unfortunately, I was not able to do that one. Probably, you know what? Thank you. I think I'll do it on next Monday or Tuesday. Next week is the Thanksgiving week, but still, I think Monday probably or Tuesday will be a good choice.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if we could do it consistently, so that way people are expect. So if Tuesdays would be Tuesday. I know it's the Thanksgiving week, but I have a feeling people will still read stuff.
Okay. Tuesday it is. That consistently we have been doing on Tuesday. So Tuesday it is. Thank you. Well said. Well, I was wondering which way to go. Should I do it on Friday or should I do it on Tuesday? Thank you. You tipped the scale.
Okay, good. All right.
All right, Aubrey, get your hand up.
Yep, I just wanted to make a quick mention that I created the brand new Zoom meeting for this bi-weekly meeting on OWASP Zoom, so we should see that happen next week. Hopefully there won't be any issues. but the next thing I need to do is just adjust the meeting pages, which I'll get that done hopefully today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the OWASP Zoom works fine. I've been using it for red teaming and it works fine. You can.
Yeah, so we did get a dedicated, I know you've got one for red teaming, but we have one now that's shared for the project so that we can do that for all of the things that we need to do. So if we have other projects that need time for using the Zoom, we have a shared credentials and we can set up a Zoom for each project area for each working group.
Are you recording those red teaming meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I
and what I do is I record it and it is pinned on the pin on the files. It is sitting there.
I would love to, toy with that. That could get some. That could probably have some really good content. A lot of the stuff that I get requests for is red team stuff, just direct on my LinkedIn. So
if you get the red team thing, absolutely. Now that we have more work coming up with the testing document, etc., it will be absolutely. That'll be a good one. That is one of the things that I want to focus on at least, and put more focus on next year. So absolutely, it'll be
cool. Yeah, thank you.
And what we have done on that one, I think we can do it for other this thing as well. You pin the meeting so that when you click on the pin, you will see the meeting ID, and then the files. If you upload the files, the MP4 files of the recording, that also goes in there. So whenever we go to that particular channel, we can see all of those things on the top.
Awesome.
And I'll note one other thing I forgot to put a slide in, but there's one other piece that's the last piece I think that's getting added to the website is a learning section where we can have community sourced videos. We can have our webinars all centrally hosted. We can point that then to all of the stuff we have happening on YouTube so that we can both, take in things that are community generated and stuff that the project is generating, and give sort of a home page for that. So that's the one additional thing that's coming in the website by the end of the year.
All right. I see Brian, you got your hand up?
Yeah, hey everyone. So I just wanted to, just looking at the reaction to the deepfake guide, I wanted to thank everyone for their work both promoting it as well as contributing it to it for those who did. It's been really awesome reading that reception. Thank you, Scott, in particular, for working on that kind of PR strategy for it. I also wanted to give some quick updates from the CTI guide. Rachel wasn't able to make it today, and I was booked for meetings all morning, so I apologize for not adding the slide. But we're going to basically try and do like a CTI layer all hands at some point in the next few weeks, which I will post about, because we have lost some momentum on some of our kind of ongoing projects, and that's for a variety of reasons, but we're going to kind of reassess, reset, and get a good timeline going. Additionally, Scott, just as a quick note, the exploit generation initiative is going to have its first deliverable by January, which is going to be reflecting on using LLMs to exploit OWASP Juice Shop. Should be a lot of fun. And I did add that on
That'll be
Slack,
awesome.
so just let me know what you need from me in terms of that. But yeah, other than that, that's just quick update from CTI layer. And again, I really want to thank everyone for both contributing to the document and or promoting it for the deepfake guide. Thank you.
Arnish.
Yeah, I have like two things, or one suggestion and one question. So it seemed like some of the channels or some projects or some other stuff like do encourage and do YouTube shorts or small reels. I think with all the webinars and stuff that we are doing, if we can explore that route, that maybe doing like a 30-second or a 1-minute snippet from a particular recording, I think it gets a lot of quick traction, especially with the attention span in the new world, right? You need like something quick and dirty without reading or going through a half an hour.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's a benefit. We're now at that stage where we've got enough content, I think, to be able to do that fairly readily. Often, sometimes when you're putting those together, it's kind of searching for content, but we now have a plethora of content to generate a lot of those from. So I think that's a great idea. And I think we should be incorporating that into the planning that they put forward in the 2025.
Oh, I'll likely ensure like I attend those Monday meetings. I might have a few more things on this one.
That's right.
And there is another idea that I had was I mean, if we're talking about webinars and few other stuff, right? Are we looking at doing workshops? And I can give a very specific example. So I was supposed to do like a workshop at CSA September. Unfortunately, that conference became virtual and they dropped the security summit. But I did a mini version of that one at Isaka Silicon after Saturday itself. And I was speaking to Ken after that. He said, maybe we can actually do like a workshop at different conferences. Like I did a workshop on prompt injection, for example, and that particular chapter almost had like 400 people attending the whole conference, right? So maybe if we can actually do something on those, and there are like plenty of conferences out there.
Yeah, and I think that there was some interest when we did the InfoSec World. There was also an interest of us doing a conference at that time, a workshop at that time. But because of the September AI kind of thing going on, there was a bit of a conflict at that point. So they were looking to also, some of these are some of our media partners, like we have right now with Cyber Risk Alliance. They're looking to do different webinars with us, looking to do different workshops with us. And they also represent two things. One, also selfishly for getting more funding into the project or revenue share opportunity, because some of these are free, some of these are revenue based, and they can be a way to get us more funding into the general fund to get things going. So they're there's a couple different groups that are very interested in working with us on both free and paid. The other piece that I'd be interested in is doing a virtual workshops too. Now that we have streaming capability, we might be able to do some virtual workshops. I know there are some other groups that actually have coding capabilities in the cloud that could be used to do that. So that could be another angle we could look at too. Open to all of those ideas.
Yeah, and if you can
just need to pick a time, and then do it. That's the challenge. And so that's what the goal of the kind of the 2025 planning is going to be like. We're going to say, pick an item, we're going to go do it here and make it happen.
And we can create some extra revenue stream through this one. If there is a conference which to actually say the workshop is kind of like a paid, we can possibly explore that option. I know like a couple of conferences like Dev Week in Santa Clara next February. I think they do that one. We can explore that option. I'll probably take this offline with you.
Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about some of these options when we start getting together on the plan. So yeah.
Marcus.
Hi, just one quick question. So I saw on the GitHub page of the project that you are looking for some for the support on the governance checklist. So are there still people working on that?
Marcus, yes. I mean, so I lead that project. I was planning on doing a rewrite. I talked to a number of people on it about it, and it made sense to pause until the feedback I got was the existing checklist was very useful as it is, and there wasn't enough to change in it that justified putting a lot of effort into it. But I'm laughing because Steve asked the very same question in the last meeting. So definitely, no, it's wonderful. I mean, I think, the challenge for me personally is I join, a lot of the different projects to come in and kind of help and coach and part of the red teaming stuff. And there's just so many hours in the day, but, definitely would love, ping me in Slack if you have thoughts and suggestions.
Okay, sure, I will. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm sure she'll take some volunteer time to be able to kind of work on some of these things. Part of this is going to be the benefit of us. We've gotten this surprising pickup and success with a lot of these different material that we've been publishing. Challenges continuing to renew people within the community and grow the community so that those can continue to kind of move forward as everybody is doing this as volunteer work, right? So we have to recognize how we're doing this, and the more people we can bring in to kind of want to do something, want to contribute in some way, we have to find ways to kind of incorporate them in. And I think the 2025, that might be worthwhile now that we have the 2025 list out, to just do a quick 2025 refresh of the checklist in the context of the new
Oh,
list. But
yeah.
if you can get some
I have
help.
some big ideas. Yeah, I have some big ideas on it. Especially, I talked to Rock a little bit about this. I think he dropped off, but I think the big thing that I would like to help people with is, how do I quantify the risk? How do I balance it? How do I understand, and there's a risk to using AI and there's a risk to not using AI. And so I compare it to, you've got to be able to understand where that threshold is. I compare it to, there's a risk of dating and getting rejected, and there's a risk of being alone for the rest of your life. Like you got to kind of make those choices. And so that's probably the area that I feel where organizations are struggling the most with is we've got them scared to death of everything, and now they're just like frozen. So how do they move forward?
Yeah.
Well, and Sandy, and I'll jump back in doing that too, because we've talked before about FOMO, but the FOMO is coming from the executives. They want results, but they don't know where to start, right? And now it's financial, legal, HR, tech, everyone involved. No tech people can just run with this. So to me, that's the one of the most important opportunities. So yeah, happy to jump in there as well. And I don't know if anyone saw the OECD thing that just came out last few days.
I didn't, Russell.
Assessing potential artificial intelligence risks, benefits, and policy imperatives. So it's pretty good. I'll put the link to it just right here.
So in Germany and in the EU, they're changing so much the governance processes with the EU AI Act and the law enforcement in Europe. So that's a little bit crazy going on.
Yeah, it's really crazy right now with all the different people trying to find different solutions to a problem that we don't fully understand. So,
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
All right. Hey, I want to just bring up one more thing to close the meeting today. So, we started this off celebrating the fact that we launched the 2025 list, and that is, that's the culmination now of a year and a half worth of work since we kicked this off in spring of 2023. But I think the discussion today is really indicative of some of the strange turns that this has taken. The first surprise was that people cared that much about this top 10 list of stuff, and that led to a lot of work and a lot of things coming together. And what started off as a very ad hoc team, we built some structure around it with a core team and some more defined roles. Then in part, when Sandy volunteered to put together the checklist, it inadvertently moved this from being the top 10 project to being an umbrella organization, which is now hosting multiple projects. And it kind of snuck up on it like a frog in a pot of boiling water, but we now have the CISO checklist, the solutions guide, the red teaming guide, guys forming up an agent guide. We have all these things, and so we've turned into this sub arm of OWASP doing things. In some case that I don't think any other OWASP project has ever done. This has led to things like the sponsorship and fundraising thing. Scott's definitely broken new ground there. We've seen at OWASP some of the big flagship projects bailing because they couldn't figure out how to basically get money to support people to work on the project. And I think we've unlocked some of that. All this being said, though, it really does point the way to a reckoning where we're going to have to put some more structure in place. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but it's a discussion that I've been having point to point with a number of you. And Scott and I in particular had a long conversation over coffee about this a couple weeks ago. So I want to get it on the record here for the team, where it's recorded and we talk about this. But I think going into next year, we are going to want to look at how do we put some more structure in place around this. Do we want to officially change the name of the project? Do we want to embrace the fact that we've become this umbrella organization? There are a lot of decisions to make that go beyond the pure technical work of providing lists and guidance documents and things like that. And, we see some of this in the different roles that have kind of popped up organically that were never defined. So I throw that out there for people to start to think about it. I suspect one of the meetings that will be coming up either in December or January, we'll probably just dedicate the meeting to a discussion around this, and I'll work with some folks to pull together some more of a framework to discuss what the options are for us and how to approach this. Again, I think we're going to be breaking new grounds for an OWASP project, but along those lines, Scott did file the paperwork to upgrade our project status at OWASP. After we put out the first version of the list, I'd had us moved from incubator to something, and Scott's filed to move from something to something else.
So we're working on moving from, we're in labs right now, so we're moving to production, and then I'm working through the process to figure out what exactly we need to do. So we've submitted everything we need to do, and so we'll see what stage we get at. Part of it is as many of these organizations are, sort of this is a discussion I'm having with different board members around kind of how, because we're doing things a little bit differently, kind of how that fits in, and then where do we fit in that context of the way that they talk about projects. And to Steve's point, I've also started to, we've put together different governance documents along the way here. So from the initiatives guide to how to do initiatives within the project to some updates to our overall sort of scope and our charter earlier when we started to add more stuff. So we're trying to consolidate those down to a document that we can use, and then we can use that as a resource as we have these discussions around do we kind of take this next step with the organization, and using the best practices in the industry for these types of organizations and how they tend to operate. So that's a great teeing up the conversation that we need to have. I think we'll have some good resources to do that, and we're on the path at least to get us promoted to the next level. I think we are still as I'm aware, we're the only project that's contributing funding to the general fund, which is a great thing that we have that sponsorship to make it that possible. But that's just all the work of everybody in the community, everybody on the team here that's kind of made that possible.
Russell?
Yeah, just 100%. And I guess as a 20-year OWASP member, being surrounded by geeks, to me, the biggest difference is the target audience. We're talking to risk managers, C-levels, and this is why, IAPP, I don't know if everyone knows this, used to be the International Association of Privacy Professionals. They're still called IAPP, but they're no longer that's not what that means anymore. They're super focused on AI at the moment. And so we're moving into the world of legal, executives, financial, risk people. And so we need to have, our story has to be around that. And I owed Scott some things around fundraising. These are the people who do have money, right? It's not sysadmins, not developers, not Java developers who want a whole bunch of geek stuff. And they want diagrams, they want networks, roadmaps. Where do I go from here? So I've started putting together, hey, here are the documents, here's the gap, you start here, go there. And this ties right into the checklist, I think, as well. So I think if we're doing well with money right now, this is just scratching the surface.
Great. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up for today. Again, congratulations to everyone on the team, whether you're on the call today, whether you're watching this on the podcast later. This is a huge team effort. There are over 1,500 people who are on the main Slack channel alone. I can't tell you how many hundreds of people contributed comments, responded to surveys. This was not the work of a few smart people in a back room. This was a massive community effort and a massive lift. And I think that is why we see such a positive response, is this does very broadly cover the issues out there that people are looking for help on. So thank you, everybody. Thank you all for being here and investing in this. And I will see you all soon.
Thanks.
Thanks for checking out our bi-weekly meeting podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date on all of the latest news for the OWASP Top 10 for large language model applications, please click subscribe. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd share with a friend to grow our community. We'll see you in 2 weeks.